on my head case.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but
Right.
since we're on topic.
Okay.
All right, so here we are. This is Brodmann's Area 6. It's very important. All the information, your maps of the world in you dump into 6, and they make any movement which comes from Brodmann's Area 4, they make any movement relevant to your internal and external environments. They also are responsible for fine movements. And we're going to use that on the other side when we're turning. Right now we're turning the right side of the brain down because it's running too hot. It's really common for women, right? Can't turn the brain down. It's always going.
Yeah. I think that's what got me in this mess.
Probably. I mean, yeah, that's a possibility.
Too much sympathetic nervous system, not enough parasympathetic.
Yeah, that's right. No doubt. Okay, now we're going to do 44 and 47. This is on the right side, so if it were 44 and 45 on the left, we'd call it Brokaw's area, which is your motor speech area. But on this side, it doesn't do that. It has to do with the emotionality of speech. It also gives you the relevance of speech. And this is why autistic kids can't speak. They have the development on the left side, which left side is all about talking. They've got that developed, but over here they develop, why would I speak anyway, right? The circuitry helps them see the relevance. Well, I can get what I want. I can get exactly what I want. I can get what I want right now easily, but they don't have the circuitry to be able to divine that, to be able to tell, oh, you know what, I should just say it. And once that circuitry develops, they just start speaking. You go, wow, out of the blue he started speaking. Yeah, because he already knew how, he already could, but he just didn't see why I should do that extra effort to make that happen. Any behavior you do at first is difficult. It takes a lot of energy and a lot of focus, and then after a while you develop and refine the circuitry to the point where you have an ease of function. This is Brodmann's Area 13. It's in the limbic brain, and limbic, whenever you hear limbic, I want you to think of emotional brain. And so this is an area that it also gets into what I call family, the family area. It has to do with when moms hear the baby cry, their whole system turns on. They can't turn it off. They got to go take care of that. And then the dad doesn't, right? Because it doesn't do that for him. It's the coos and the mutters, and more particularly the giggles. The giggles do it for dad. Boy, that links them to the baby, and the baby links to them, and so that's why they love to play with them, because it has a high oxytocin output for dad. And how many times did I hear over and over again, you're ramping them up before sleep. Okay. Sorry, man. I'll do it again, though.
Yeah. Well, and I still enjoy that.
Yep.
Even though they're not around.
That's because you built that circuitry.
Right.
And now it's you. And so, being a mom, being a grandma, and that it doesn't even have to be your kids.
Right.
It hits that circuitry, and you feel it. They're wired to you, and you're wired to them. This is 39 and 40 back here, which is really interesting because it's in an area, it's in a region between, kind of in a transition between the feeling area of your body and the parietal lobe and the visual system, and plus it has a little bit into the hearing system area. You're starting to put stuff together, heavily with that. Okay, and we're still turning stuff down on the right because the right side running too hot turns down the left. Whenever you fire one side, you inhibit the other side, is the way we say it in neuroscience.
So you're trying to balance? Is that what we're doing?
Exactly. We're trying to, you've got Arnold Schwarzenegger on the right and Pee Wee Herman on the left. And so right now we're chopping Arnold off at the knees so that when we turn Pee Wee Herman up, he can not only do what he does, but he can also inhibit Arnold. And so he can learn that inhibition. And anytime any inhibition in the central nervous system is the more difficult skill. It's the more difficult circuitry to gain. And so that's why I love therapies, and there are fewer therapies that are like it, where I can turn one side down before I turn the other one up. Cold calorics are like that. The red-blue glasses are like that. I can potentially use it to turn down. Okay, now we're going to do left side, but we're going to start with the cerebellum on the right. The reason we do that is the cerebellum on the right connects with the cortex on the left. And so we want to initially increase it because it juices that side. So we're going to give it its stimulation, and we're going to increase it. The laser is about the wavelength of laser. It also is deep penetrating. We're currently using red and violet right now. It allows us to go deep because it's laser. It's parallel light rather than the diverging light like your flashlight and that, or like LED, which is common nowadays. They'll sell you an LED gadget or gizmo and make you way overpay for it, and then it doesn't ever do what they said it would do. Well, laser causes it to be deep and penetrating, but we're using it to introduce a frequency into that area. Quantum mechanics states that all matter, it has a waveform, and all waveform has matter. Well, now we're going to come over here to 17 and 18. We'll go over that in a second. But we're turning up 17 and 18 on this side. Quantum mechanics is that we know what every atom, what its frequency is. We actually have charted the body and the brain and different parts of the brain to the point we know what level of frequency those cells should be operating at. And in that, we're basically selectively inducing a frequency into specific areas of the brain to cause the internal workings of the cells to increase, right? We're increasing their metabolic capacity, we're increasing their mitochondria to do more work. We're causing this entire system within the city within the cell to function at a higher level, so that we can do more therapy because the cell's capable of doing it now because it's so weak. But also it's its own stimulation. It's telling the nucleus, listen, you need to do better on your mitochondria. And so it goes to a different area of the DNA and selects a more efficient, more effective copy of the mitochondria. It's a lot the same in sports, right? You go from high school to college sports, holy mackerel, it feels like you're dying, and then after a while, boom, you're doing better. It's because you have more mitochondria, you have more blood flow, you've totally changed your entire body to be able to do more at a higher level. Well, this is that same exact process, and we're forcing that system to do better. Now 17 and 18 are the occipital lobe. 17 is where stuff comes in, 18 is where we're starting the process of using that somewhat, and then then 19 is where we start transitioning with the parietal lobe and temporal lobes and that. This is 5 and 7 up here in the back up corner. 5 and 7 are very interesting. It's in the parietal lobe. They are the map. It's actually the master map, I call it. You've got stuff that's coming in, sight, sound, smells, taste, and then that's of your world on the outside, but then you have the world of you inside. And that map of the world is where you also introduce yourself in your world. And that's 7, and we talked about 6 earlier, that the stuff that comes from 5 and 7 goes into 6, so that when you go to move, you have all the information of your outer world and your inner world to make that movement pattern or movement, whatever you selected to do, happen. And we're turning all, like I said before, we're turning all of this up. We're increasing. Now right now you're gonna do, this is 4 and 6, so we're gonna move, which is 4, and we're gonna do fine movement. So fine movement, there you go, finger tapping. Okay, excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze.
Bless you.
Thank you. 4 and 6 are, like I say, the movement system. It's the premotor area, and we're making it function while we're doing it. How does it feel as we're doing this? Does it feel like it's getting easier?
Yeah, it's an opening.
Okay. What's your name?
Jennifer.
Does that feel easier than earlier? And you can hear her speech get more clear as we go, and that is just because we're turning up those areas that need to be turned up so that they can function at a higher level. And speech and walking are the two most difficult things you do, and the big part of the brain is all about those things. And walking is the most difficult because it takes the most systems all working together, and the opposition of gravity against all of that. But then speech is number one. There, I put them both as number one is the most difficult because it's by far the most refined of all movement patterns. That refinement, we can listen to your walking and your talking and get amazing amounts of information, because if something goes wrong, it shows up because it's the most difficult things to do. And so I use those a lot in my work. Okay. And here we are, 20, 21, and 22 in the temporal lobe, and they have to do with hearing. And in the brain, you're always going to have a primary area, like a primary area of hearing. This is going to have that, and then primary visual area, that's Brodmann's area 17. But then as you work your way away from it, you get the secondary and tertiary areas. It's becoming more sophisticated, but also more integrated. It's going to integrate with more other things and start doing stuff, crunching numbers and that. Now this is 39 and 40. That's that in the back here, which is transition between the visual system, the body sensing system, and even a little bit of the hearing system. And in this case, because it's on the left, it's going to deal with the understanding part of speech, which is in the area of Wernicke's area. And that all of that's starting to mold together. The area that gets up to that area from the back, from the occipital lobe, which is visual, is, we call it 19, Brodmann's area 19, but as it gets right up to that edge, we call it 19 POJ, which is the parietal occipital junction. Now here we're going to hit Brokaw's, 44 and 45. What's your name?
Jennifer. Vance.
Very good. Boy, you almost forgot that the last.
I was listening to you, so I got to shift gears.
I was worried for John. She's forgetting her last name. Oh no. That's a problem.
Yeah, he still airs, so that's a good thing.
That's right. That's right.
So why did you pick all these different things to work on me?
That is an excellent question. The problem that you deal with is MS. So the primary issue is you have an autoimmune that's attacking your body. The thing that distinguishes it as MS is your brain is succumbing to that attack.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll call it MS. Well, if it was your thyroid that was succumbing, we call it Hashimoto's.
Mm-hmm.
If it was your stomach lining that absorbs B12, we call it pernicious anemia. In the end, it's still autoimmune. So got to stop the autoimmune, got to stop the inflammation that's being created. That's step 2, and that. But we're trying to put the system back together, put the brain back together, and in that, we're using developmental neuroscience as the concept. We know how the brain develops. And basically, there are 5 levels of development. And so we're going back to the concept of level 5, that in your development, this is 46 and 9, but the development, if anything was tending to be weak in its development, that's the first thing to degenerate. Mm-hmm. But also it's the cells that are the weakest. So in an autoimmune disorder problem, those are going to be the cells that are the most vulnerable. It's like the grandma or the little baby, right, in the herd. The lioness is not going to go after the big bull. She's going to take grandma, right? And that's the same thing with the autoimmune. It's attacking the different areas everywhere in your body, but the brain is becoming more susceptible, apparently, because it's showing up, that part of the autoimmune is showing up first. And so we're going back to the developmental system and saying, okay, we know that you have a weaker left brain, stronger right brain, and so we're going to use that developmental concept. And what is developing in level 5, we know what's going to be developing and underdeveloped. We also know what is going to be the compensatory overdrive to compensate for that problem. And so we're going back and saying, okay, we're going to turn down the stuff that has to compensate for the underdevelopment on this side of the brain. We're going to turn that down, and we're going to hit the parts that should be developing at that time. And in that, we're gonna boost the system in the appropriate way from the developmental concept. Now that probably made no sense, but it is really cool.
It's really cool.
What's your name?
Jennifer.
Does that feel easier?
Yes.
Can you hear it? It's more crisp, more clear, and one of the biggest things that I look for is it sounds like it's happening with greater ease.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So basically, my take on what you just said was that side of my brain was starting to deflate, and this one was overinflated. Yeah. So you're working on both in building up the cells on this side and toning those down so that this side can function the way it's supposed to.
At a higher level, exactly. And then I like that. The thing that I would add to it that hopefully will bring some more clarity to it is, if I have stuff that's underdeveloped on one side of my brain, and we talked about that the other side is going to compensate and overdrive in the on the other side. Here's the bigger issue that I really put in the category of old age. This is one of the major factors of creating old age. Mm-hmm. And you could be 45 and be very old. Mm-hmm. As a result of this. The lack of development on one side and the overdevelopment on the other creates its own monster. Mm-hmm. Because when I'm driving, every time I turn something on, I'm turning something else off. Mm-hmm. And this is what's creating, like I said before, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Pee Wee Herman. But progressively, Arnold keeps getting bigger and stronger, and Pee Wee keeps getting weaker and more puny. Mm. And so that imbalancement gets worse and worse and worse, and it's kind of like a time-release capsule of old age, right? It's letting that system overtake, and you witness this in their posture over time. The anterior compartment system, I'm all bent forward, and then as a child, as a toddler and a child, I'm learning to develop this posture. Well, it is an evidence of the development of the posterior compartment or the adult brain. The adult brain. Well, now that I have developed somewhat, and there's a lack of development on one side compared to the other side, as I look at that over time is going to become the demise of the system. And so I'm taking it and saying, okay, let's back it off. We thank you for trying to make things work in spite of it, but I need you to take a chill pill, and I need to take you guys who've been couch potatoing and get off the couch and start doing your work. And you say, well, yeah, but I'm old. How old are you? Yeah, don't answer. Women don't say that, right? But you're more than 25, right. So we'll just say that.
Yeah.
And in that being that age, we say, well, we've lost brain and we've lost it. I say, yeah, you're absolutely right. You're not going to get back what you lost, right? If it's dead, it's gone, right? But whatever you've got is less functional. Let's get it optimally functioning. Right. And one of the cool things about the brain, it's not about how many cells you have. It's about the connections. So if you can imagine, you've got 87 billion neurons in your brain. Yeah. 87 billion. An average of connections of each cell, each of those cells, is 30,000. You can have 1 million connections with each cell in the cerebellum. Yeah. Well, you got that many. Well, we take that math, 87 billion times 30,000. You're getting 2.1 quadrillion connections. That's 4 times more than the number of cells in your entire body, right? And that's what I want to work with. I want to work with that, but I also want to work with the blood flow system to improve its blood flow to support whatever we're doing. Right. That's even more valuable than the actual connections themselves, because if you have the connections, but you run out of juice, so what? You've got in your 3-pound brain 400 miles of blood vessels. 400 miles. Say, we got a lot of work to do because we're going to change all that. We're going to cause capillary beds to start working at a higher level. We're going to start them to get them to become more effective and more efficient. We're going to lay down capillary beds in areas that we're not using hardly at all. If you don't use it,
you lose it.
You lose it. That is a law of nature, and it's you can't get around it, right?
Right.
You either use it or you lose it. Okay.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to put her brain back together.
That's why I'm a head case.
That's right. Yeah.
But how amazing that is.
Yeah.
That
it's miraculous.
It is. And just, I'm sorry, anybody that doesn't believe that God created us, you're missing it.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
And doesn't the brain have the ability to make new neurons for stuff that is
we're actually in science looking at that, and there are species that do that, and we're finding out that we don't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And even if we do, it's tiny.
Sure.
And it's not gonna make up the difference. And so for me, I go, and I get this all the time because I'll be looking at MRIs with patients, especially with moms and dads who are, you know, the child had a brain injury, and I'm looking at it, and I know exactly what it was like when they met with their doctor. Oh, look, this is destroyed. This is horrible. This is, you know, and they come in, they're already pre-crying, right? And I go, relax. Look at all this cool stuff that we got to work with, man. We can do so many things with all this that's left over here, and the stuff that's around where the damage is, it may work. Let's try it, right? And inevitably, something in there is going to work. Why didn't they find it? Because they didn't try, right? They were saying, this is broken, and so we can't do anything with it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you know, I've had 3 patients come in, they were blind in one eye, and by the time they walked out, they were actually seeing to some degree. And on that first visit, and they went, man, that's a miracle. I said, no. I just turned on the circuitry. It's like stepping into a room and turning on the light. Anything that happens that fast, it was available. Why didn't that happen? Because nobody pushed the system to have to try.
Right.
And that, as I'm working with somebody and it's taking longer, now we're starting to make changes within the brain. Now we're starting, then we can get to the point where we're actually redirecting things. We can teach you to see with your tongue. That's interesting, right? Because the pathways are close to the visual system, and so we can actually put a sensor on your tongue linked to a camera that will allow you to convert that visual stimuli into something that's fairly close to the signals that you have in your pathway that goes back to your occipital lobe, and all of a sudden you can start to see things a little bit. And the technology keeps getting better and better and better, and you're getting closer and closer and closer. Wow. But that's a rewiring, reconnecting process. That takes a lot longer, but it's possible.
Right. All right.
That makes sense?
Yep. So, but with me, we're just trying to keep going.
Yeah. And we're trying to get you so you're not as lazy.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
I get it.
Yeah, the big thing that's exciting is, you know, you're sitting up for longer and longer periods of time.
Yeah.
And that's really great. We could just keep you from breaking bones.
You know. Well, my recuperation on this one has been longer.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
But don't give up.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
We'll find something somewhere.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.